Was Destiny ever really going to live up to the hype? Probably not, but it's still a damn good game. Bungie's newest IP got the backing of Activision, and hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent on creating and promoting this game. Destiny has almost become its own worst enemy, having garnered hype and reputation far beyond that of many other games. And whilst it might not be as revolutionary as many had hoped for, it's still a gigantic, beautiful and expertly put together game that requires your attention. I deliberately didn't do this review until I'd experienced a large number of the game's options. I reached a level cap and I've done about 3/4 of the story, the PvP, strikes, and gathered a lot of rare loot. So I feel now as though I've got a better idea of what the game's all about. And what is it about? Well, the story is about a benevolent alien intelligence that arrives on Earth and gives humanity its unprecedented expansion and advancement powers, which leads us into a golden age of building and exploring the universe. Where you come in is after this golden age is ended. You stand as a guardian pushing back the darkness which has come to destroy humanity. So yeah, it's just your usual kind of sci-fi nonsense, but it sets as a good backstory and it's interesting as you move along the story missions. Whilst the characters in the game might not be the most interesting, the universe in which Destiny is created is absolutely incredible. Bungie have outdone themselves once again here, and it really feels as though there's lore and history to this setting. It is easily the best looking Bungie game. Everything around you is beautiful, from Venus's jungles, the moon's vast craters, Earth's dilapidated and broken down societies. Everything just feels as though you're part of this world. Apologies for the Lord of the Rings-esque quote there. The soundtrack itself is also brilliant, and whilst Bungie always does great soundtracks, the Halo games are no slouch at this. Bungie continues this trend, and in areas where you're fighting big monsters, the soundtrack really kicks in and is exciting. So whilst the areas and the music's very exciting, with little or no character development, a disconnected plot so far, although I've not completed it, about the alien attackers, and kind of uneven pacing with some of the story missions, it seems that many of the fundamental staples of making this game truly excellent in the storytelling department have been abandoned. There are collectibles called Grimoire cards, which are kind of encyclopedic entries into the backstory and additional lore explanations. But an odd decision was made by Bungie to only include these in the app and in the website, so you can't actually read up on backstory and lore in-game, which is an odd decision in my opinion. Something that I didn't seem to notice at first, but has definitely become more apparent in the last few playthroughs that I've done, is the mission structure and objectives. They basically all too often fall into the same setup and the same idea of go here, kill them, scan this, fight off waves of enemies, kill boss, end of mission. And when I was reading other critic reviews, I thought, it can't be true for all of them, but I was discussing with a friend last night playing a co-op mission, and it seems to be that almost every single mission has the same structure, which is disappointing. On the subject of co-op though, Destiny is incredible in multiplayer and it really suits team play. This is where the game shines from a fairly, good game to a exceptional game in my opinion. Solo play is definitely more of a challenge, but it is so much more fun, and easier actually, when you've got a friend or two with you doing strikes or other missions, or even PvP. Perhaps something that breaks up the momentum a little bit of team play is the fact that there's always quite lengthy load times between areas that you're going to. And I can understand why this might be the case on older consoles, but even on PS4 sometimes you're waiting a good 20 seconds before you're at the area that you're doing your mission in. Another thing that perhaps Bungie have overlooked is the balancing between team play. I was playing with a friend that was quite a lot lower of a level than I was at the time, and there was no kind of balance between getting the missions at a level that was difficult enough for me but easy enough for him. In fact, it was a case of having to lower the level so that he was able to enjoy himself, whereas the game was just too easy for myself. Having said that, the firefights are still tremendously fun, and Bungie hasn't lost its touch here. All of the gun types, whether it's an auto rifle, shotgun, or a rocket launcher, they all feel as though they've got the right balancing, a sufficient kick and power behind them. In fact, the melee attacks in particular feel really meaty, and there's nothing more satisfying than going up to a fallen captain and punching them square in the jaw. The enemies, though, don't feel as smart in Destiny as they have done in previous Halo games. The enemies just often rely on numbers more than complex AI routines. Although I am still to try some of the high level strikes, and I haven't tried any of the raids yet, so perhaps enemies are more intelligent in these modes and provide a little bit more challenge. Moving on to PvP though, and everything is uniformly excellent. And whilst there aren't maybe a vast wealth of options to do as compared to some contemporary shooters, the battles that unfold are some of the most intense and well-rounded that I've ever played. A lot of the modes, or most of the modes, having level advantages disabled, the game does require skill, sharp reflexes, and the knowledge of the maps to really win the day. The decision to keep the superpowers in PvP was genius though, so it means that even beginners feel empowered and can take out high-level opponents. Progression is saved across all modes, which does lend to a sense of ownership of your Guardian. Once you reach level 15, you've even got subclasses which you can unlock, which means you've got even more depth to your character creation. And whilst loot drops aren't as plentiful as in the likes of Borderlands or Diablo, it's still exciting when you find an uncommon, rare or even legendary weapon. Like the MMOs, which Destiny draws a lot of inspiration from, much of the game isn't really unlocked for you until you reach the level cap. Only then are the high level raids, strikes and gear available to you. And it is this point in the game that I'm at right now, and I must say I'm really enjoying it. Bungie also has plans already to expand the game with lots of additional content. So whilst Destiny isn't the best game ever made, I'm still really loving it. But what are your thoughts? Do you like it or do you find it a bit bland? Comment below and thanks very much for watching.